What can you do in, say, 30 seconds? That's how long an employer will look at your resume.
Resumes need constant updating and improvement, so you work on them consistently, not just the once. There are no rules when it comes to your resume, but there are many clear guidelines. Generally, when you apply for a job, you do 1-page cover letter, a statement addressing the selection criteria, and your resume. And you know what? Your current resume can always be improved. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of laying out your resume. Page 1. Your name should be your heading. Make it big, at least 18 points, and make it very clear which name is your surname, for example using capitals or underlining. Your address and contact details do not need subheadings. These are self-evident. Make this block much smaller. Right or centre justify under your name so it looks a bit like a letterhead. Try and avoid lines and fancy borders. They often don't work well in electronically sent documents or scanned documents, and you have no control over how it looks to the receiver. Use ample white space and decent-sized headings instead.
Add your name and page number to the footer, just in case the pages get mixed up.
Do not include your date of birth, or a photo of yourself, or your school details. Never mention your health or marital status, and make sure you use a business-like email address. These pointers relate specifically to Australian resumes.
Make sure you have a good voicemail greeting message too.
After this, it's time to stipulate your career objective. This can also be called a career summary or profile. A good career objective will make your situation crystal clear to the prospective employer. When you are writing your career objective, emphasise your strengths and your broad career objective. Avoid very specific objectives which limit your opportunities. And also avoid vague and very obvious objectives which say nothing new. People will get bored of that easily. Use industry language and terminology. Show that you have done your research and you understand the entry points and career structure of the industry you're going for. If you struggle to write a well-constructed career objective, simply leave it out. Moving on to your education. Don't assume the degree speaks for itself. Make sure you add relevant detail. Make yourself stand out from the crowd by giving a description of your pattern of study. Show how you used your degree to gain particular knowledge or skills in certain areas through electives and project work.
Go back in your education to the point that got you into university. Use terminology such as credit average instead of GPA because the employer may not know what GPA means. If your credit average is low in the first year, then we suggest you put in an average for your final year. Use this opportunity to market yourself well. Make sure you use work-relevant electives and indicate if you have attached a copy of your academic transcript. Moving on to your employment history, and here's an example. By putting in this line and emphasising one aspect related to the role, you're doing the thinking for the employer. When putting in your dot points, make sure you keep these brief and concise. Some people ask about whether they need to explain gaps in any dates. The answer depends on the cause of the gap. If there is an obvious gap where you weren't studying or working, then you may need to indicate what you were doing. For example, travelling or family responsibilities. It's best not to leave a question mark in the recruiter's mind, or it may raise suspicions. Always list your employment history in date order, and always format going down because this is the way employers will skim read them. You can also develop your employment section by including your key responsibilities. When talking about your previous jobs, you use past tense. And when you're talking about your current job, make sure you use current tense. List what you did and not what the team in general achieved, and begin each listing with a strong verb or action word like these. Include any achievements in your resume. Demonstrate with a certificate, award or reference, and quantify your achievements where possible. Check with your colleagues and past employers for their feedback. This is your chance to talk about anything that you have done with previous employers where you've made an improvement. Here are some examples. Here are some other headings that you might want to include in your resume. You select the headings which reflect you and your life. Work experience. This is any unpaid industry placement that you have participated in, including internships, industry orientations, or univative. Community work. Talk about what you do, outcomes achieved, and elective positions held. Volunteer work. This is highly regarded. Make sure you show dates, role, duties, and outcomes. Interests. List the productive ways that you spend your spare time. If you have additional qualifications, then make sure you include them. None of these are taught at university, but you may have done them along your path. These additional qualifications are particularly relevant to education. You can modify them and give additional examples with other disciplines. If you don't hold any of these additional qualifications, you may want to consider if these would be good for you to get. Do you speak another language? Put it down. Make sure you use the following terms to describe your proficiency level in both oral and written forms. This has just been a brief overview of what you might want to consider including in your resume. After all, your resume is a word summary of your learning life. Each experience provides you with the opportunity to demonstrate to an employer your full range of employability skills and capabilities. So that's it. You should now be ready to write your resume. For more advice, resources, or to contact us, please go to our website.